Hello there, and welcome to the I Never Knew podcast, also known as Ink. This show dives into the life experiences of people who have been through it all and have come through the other side stronger, better, and triumphant. Each story is raw, authentic, and, at times, heartbreaking. One thing joins it all together, the fact that the stories can help the listener learn and grow. Hosted by life coach Maureen, she sits down each episode with a new guest who will empower the listener to set out on their self-discovery journey and start to heal. Now you'll be joined by Maureen and her special guest. Please enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a bonus episode of I Never Knew Ink by Life Coach Maureen. I am Maureen Scanlon, your host, and yes, as the introduction said, you will be joined by my special guest, but today is my extra special infinity guest. I'm going to be talking with my husband, Dennis.
Hello, everybody.
So Dennis is extremely nervous, and it's funny because he used to be a radio DJ, and so we are on audio. We are not on video, and whatever I can do to make my guests comfortable, I am accommodating.
I appreciate that.
So we're just going to have a conversation. We're going to have a really candid conversation. Everyone hears me talk all the time or refer to my husband and things that we do, or especially when I relationship coach, I definitely give examples of what my husband and I have learned. And so we thought it would be cool to have, first person. It's one thing for me to say it, but having it come from, and I'm not going to call him a horse, but coming from the horse's mouth.
It's just a phrase. You're not calling me a horse when you say that.
So let me premise this, guys, with the fact that my husband and I are polar opposites. So I'm all about, emotions and be kind and be easy. Let's soften the edges. And my husband is, how would you describe yourself?
Reticent.
Oh, good Lord. See what I mean, guys?
I'm not much of a talker, and in most cases. So
you're pretty logistical, as we like to say. He's very literal. He's very
analytical.
Yeah, analytical, intellectual. And I love that he balances me out in that way, because sometimes I get flighty and I'm off over here, and he's really good at reining me in and grounding me.
And I gain from you by expanding my emotional range and my understanding of people that I wouldn't if I was by myself.
So since this podcast is called I Never Knew, I thought it would be really appropriate that him and I would talk about what we never knew before we got into a healthy marriage. And I, as you know from the first episode, getting to know me, I have never had a healthy relationship until him. But we had a little bit of a rocky road at the beginning. And so, we're going to tell our story. But first I want to ask Dennis, in your dating history, because we didn't meet until we were in our 40s. Well, I was 45, 46, and he was 50 at the time. And we're going on 7 years now, together, married almost 5. But tell me what you've noticed going back to your dating history all that time. And he's been married once and divorced, and I've been married twice and divorced. What was different when you went out into the dating world before you and I met? What were you looking for that you said, I never knew this, but I know this now?
Well, I had a lot of first dates, and they rarely turned into some dates. And the thing that I learned from meeting you and our relationship is that my approach was too superficial. I was looking for them to be instantly physically attracted to me, and me be physically attracted to them. Um, and then that would lead to the reason for the second date and the connection and everything else. And so during that long period of dozens and over 100 first dates, um, I would usually make my judgment very quickly within that conversation. And I don't know if I had a larger relationship that I missed, but it wasn't there in the way I was looking at what a good relationship was going to be and how to start a relationship. And when I met you, there was so this might be contrary to my point. There was a great physical attractiveness to you, and I felt like you were attracted to me. But we had such a better connection beyond the physicality. We barely shared a kiss on that first date. It wasn't like we had a lot of intimacy or anything. I know you're looking at me like, we kissed.
We definitely did. This is so interesting.
We didn't
guys.
sit on a couch and make out for an hour.
You came over to the other side of the booth and we made out at the restaurant. But okay. Okay, cool. I'm glad I made a lasting impression with Mike. You mean going home on the first date and getting home. Busy going to Pound Town? Oh wow.
Right.
Yeah, no.
Or even halfway of that.
No, because I'm classy.
Yeah.
But you guys, what's ironic about this is I'm sitting here and we're looking at each other as we're speaking, and this is really kind of cool. This is one of those couch time moments that I encourage couples to do is look at each other, and we're no more than 12 inches apart here. But the irony of this whole thing is that he says, I thought we had to have this physical thing right off, and that I was quickly judging if we didn't have the physical thing, we weren't going past the second date. Well, how it started out is Dennis and I met online at our time, which is at the time it's for 50 and over is why I wasn't 50 and over, but for some reason they let me in the club because I'm so mature.
Because you're a woman. Yeah, we all.
Because I'm so mature. So, we do mature faster. So really me at 45 was like you at 55. So we were talking online. First of all, I always tell everyone when they're dating, don't lower your standards and don't feel bad for liking certain things. And my thing was, you need to know how to spell. And he knew how to spell. Lucky for me. But we talked online, and he was just like he is in person now, but I didn't know this. I'd never laid eyes on him. He was living in Colorado at the time, and I was in Arizona. And so at that point, I'm in this soul journey, recovering from these terrible relationships and not sure if I want to go into another relationship. I just wanted to go online, and honestly, I just wanted to find guys that would take me out to do stuff. Let's go to football games. Let's go to dinner. Let's go have fun. That's what I wanted. So in my brain, I was like, I just want a friend. So he laughs.
Which is great on a dating site where you're trying to look for your soulmate.
And here we are. So what happened is we just kind of had this conversation, and he says, well, I'm moving to Phoenix. So, let's talk, whatever. And I'm thinking, oh God, I don't do long distance. And yeah, we'll see you in Phoenix, whatever. So we do this for about 3 months. And we just have conversations. I think we had a couple phone calls and just, kind of, it wasn't every day, but it was a couple days a week. We had good conversation. He made me laugh because I love we have a totally different sense of humor, but he's got this dry, sarcastic sense of humor that I have. So that kind of matched. But when it comes to things that make us laugh, um, he's the Rick and Morty guy. I'm the Jim Carrey, the dad joke girl. So we were. It was funny that we came together on the things that made each other laugh.
Well, we don't have to, have everything be exactly the same.
Correct.
It was a lot of things that attracted us to each other. It was your openness. It was frankly, it was your reluctance to dive into a relationship. I had spent a lot of time as a single guy, thinking that I needed to be the savior, the good guy, the help them out so that they would think I'm not only interested in them, but also that I'm invested in them and monetarily invested in them. And so, as we talked about before, I spent all kinds of money as a single guy that just basically threw it away. Might as well just burn it in the fireplace for all it got me in terms of relationships or in a real relationship or friendship. When I look back on it, you say with great candor, some of your relationships, some of your decisions you regret. I certainly regret doing that because it didn't result in what I thought it was going to result in. I was fooling and I was doing things that never were going to result in a healthy relationship. If I wanted to be, in so many words, a sugar daddy, then I should have been pursuing that kind of relationship. That's not what I wanted, but that's how I was acting. So,
wow, look at that. That's really insightful. And guys, I have to say this. The thing is when we went on our first date, I was still sort of self-sabotaging, like you don't want to get into a relationship, protect yourself. This is just going out, having dinner and having fun. And I wasn't being rude, but I don't always have a filter and I tend to say what I think. So what happened is he does move to Phoenix and he's here in Phoenix for 2 months and I'm still reluctant to go on this first date. And we're still talking, we're still emailing back and forth or we were texting, I think we were texting at that point, having phone calls. And he was so nice and he was so patient and he'd say, hey, do you want to go on that first date with me? And I'd go, yeah, no, I'm not really ready right now. I'm still kind of doing my thing. And so this went on for, maybe 3 or 4 requests to go out on this date. I'm sitting at my desk one day on a Wednesday. I worked from home long before COVID came along, since like 2007. And I'm sitting at my desk working. And all of a sudden, this text comes across, and there's that request again. Hey, do you want to go on that first date? And it was something just kind of clicked for me. It was in my brain, and I said, he's been persistent but not pushy. And mind you, the relationship previous was I had a stalker, and it was an ex-boyfriend that I broke up with, and he ended up getting aggravated harassment and ended up going to jail. So, of course, I had this sort of protective thing about letting people in because that was very traumatizing. So, but I thought, he's been a gentleman. We laugh, we have fun. So I texted him back and I said, yeah, let's go get some dinner. And I'm gonna let you hear his side. When he gets this text on this Wednesday night. So what did you think when you got that text?
Well, it's this random text early in the day, and it's like, sure, I'll go on that date with you kind of thing. And it was, hey, wow, she's reaching out to me, because I hadn't asked. And we checked this on our phones, where she received it, but I never sent it. So he thinks, oh, yeah, whatever. that's not true. It's very oddly true. I don't no explanation between us.
We have no idea how that text just came through because he hadn't sent it. And so I obviously believe in, things happening, things being aligned for you, things that you don't have to always make happen.
it was just a situation where, it was great to be with someone that was entirely unique. Different than I had seen and different than I was expecting.
I love it. And I remember, about 30 minutes into the date, into the conversations, and I remember in my head just saying to myself, oh man, I really, really like this guy. Don't Maureen, don't do, you don't want to go into a relationship, don't do this. So all my fears were sort of coming forth, because sitting at home and saying I don't want a relationship is different than being in front of someone that you really are feeling, you're connecting with. And I just kind of let it go. And the beauty of our first date, and I tell everyone this in their dating lives, is be upfront, be open, and be vulnerable on that first date. If you're feeling the person, if you automatically don't like them in the first 10 minutes, which I know there's a lot of dates I was like, yeah, I can't wait for my meal because I'm not going to see you again. But when you're feeling someone and you feel that kind of like, oh, I really like this person, I really want to go somewhere with this, then sort of ask those vulnerable questions. And I'm not going to lie, guys, we're going to be transparent here. My husband and I talked about sexual preferences. We talked about past mistakes. We talked about current things in our lives that probably weren't the most attractive thing. And I honestly think that first date is probably what most people would do about 3 or 4 dates in.
And dear listeners, you can tell, your podcast host here is not a stone. She was very easy to read that she was attracted. Don't give me the, come on.
I doubt.
Oh,
I was a Mona Lisa. You couldn't see anything going on behind the eyes. What do you mean?
Sure.
So you could read me then.
Well, like we were talking about right before we started this, we were kissing in the booth. I mean, come on. Nobody has PDA on a first date that's not attracted to the other person.
Wow, that's true.
Well.
Well, let me think. Well, yeah.
I don't want him to like this guy. I guess I'm just going to kiss him a little bit in the booth.
Yeah, but I also think, it's funny that you said that you could read me, but I think that's also part of this kind of attraction and connection that we already had, is that you could read me better on that first date than a lot of people I had been with after 5 years who had no clue what I was feeling, so I think that says a lot right there, where you said, oh, you weren't a stone, I could see what you were feeling. You think I was obvious, but maybe it wasn't obvious. Maybe it was just that you were so in tune to me, like you are to this day.
With layers, like an onion.
Mr. Cheeto, and we'll get to the Cheeto story later.
Cheetos?
Yeah.
Mm.
So the Cheeto story is Dennis knows what I need and what I want, sometimes without me even asking. A lot of times without me asking. Like, it's uncanny. It's almost freaky. Sorry, not to make it sound, bad. But it is. It's almost freaky. So I'm sitting at my desk one day working at home. He's at the office. And I was thinking. I was only thinking, not expressing. He wasn't here. I didn't text him. And I was thinking how much I wanted some Cheetos. The orange crunchy ones that get all over your fingers. Oof, that's unbelievable.
They're not from this earth.
Sound completely processed and terrible for me, but we all have our vices. So I'm sitting here thinking, man, Cheetos sound really good right now. And listeners, I kid you not, the man comes home at 5 o'clock in the evening after work, bringing a bag of Cheetos. So it's just like how that text came across. We don't know how the text came across, and then the whole Cheeto thing. And so I always tell everyone, get yourself a Cheeto relationship, because I don't feel, it's important to express our needs. We've talked about, he taught me expectations, and we're going to get to that. But I don't think I have to tell him every minute of every day what I need, what I like, what I want. Now, if there's a discord and he doesn't know what's going on. I've been really quiet. Yeah, it is my job to tell him things that I'm needing, but not every little thing. So we're going to get to something he introduced me to, which is called transparent expectations in a relationship.
It's actually one of the few, maybe the only thing I learned when I was getting divorced. We went to a counselor one time, and well, we went to the counselor and
marriage counseling.
Yeah, that's right. And I can't even remember if it was a male or female, but a counselor. But they, after they'd listened to us for a while, they said, what I'm hearing is that you both expect the other one to know what you want, and that's known as transparent expectations. Like, if you really loved me, you would know what I want. You would know what makes me happy. You'd know what's making me sad at this moment. And the counselor said, that's very rarely, if ever, true, because you don't know what they've experienced in that moment without, some other conversation. So if you open it up and say, this is more of what I need, more of what I'm experiencing, more of what I'm doing, the other person can understand that so much better. Now you laugh that we only went to counseling once, and I would state that we went through our story of what brought us to counseling, and after I said, here's what we've gone through, and here's what I need, and here's what I want, and here's what isn't happening, and we looked over at my ex-wife, and she said, yeah, that's very true. And next thing you know, we're in divorce court. So,
and let's just note, a side note, and we love his ex-wife. And
she's one.
Parented amazing with his son, and we actually have vacationed with them. They live in Colorado in Winter Park. They have a beautiful lodge, and all of us stay there. It's really kumbaya, one big happy family, and I love the maturity because I didn't have that co-parenting relationship with my ex. And let's mention, I went to counseling with every single person I had been with in the past, and inevitably it ended every single time. So counseling, I think marriage counseling versus couples coaching, I think there might be something there that's a lot, I'm going to say it is a lot different. So I think that's really important, that transparent expectation. And the other thing that's really what I learned from Dennis was, so we leave this date and it was on after that, right? We only saw each other and we hung out. We had a really, really good time. But at that time, Dennis and I still had some things that we needed to work on. I was enabling a daughter of mine and sort of fixing her problems all the time and focused on all of her issues and running and helping her because she had my grandchildren, and that was my priority, is to make sure they were safe. And then he had been with women that had sort of drama, and so suddenly we kind of after 4 months we hit sort of a little, I don't know, roadblock.
Yeah, I wasn't as emotionally available, so I wasn't empathetic to the situation you were in, particularly given the relationship that we were in. I wasn't at the level I should have been from an empathy standpoint and from an understanding standpoint. But also, I was still fixated on, I've had my children, they've raised 2 adults, the person I want to be with shouldn't have young children or a lot of complicating factors, and I want this simple life. And so, the events that were going on at that time, seemed like a lot. So I did what I would normally do, which is withdraw by going to work a lot.
Yeah, he pulled back. He did a flight. The flight or fight response. He flighted. And the thing is, my habit of fixing people was to go help them and to go do more. And so I found myself as he pulled back, I found myself, let me go make him dinner and bring it to his work and let me make all this effort. And then all of a sudden I had this aha moment where I was like, oh my gosh, no. We're doing it again. We're going back to this old mindset, and you've already recovered from this. You decided what your bar was, and you decided who you wanted in your life, and they will be there for you and accept everything about you and your life. And so I ended up telling him, I just don't think this is going to work, and I think we need to probably go our separate ways. And I remember when he came and got his stuff from my house, the last thing he said was, but I love you. And I said, but sometimes love is not enough. And that was a really poignant moment for me because I'd always thought love could fix everything. And so I knew I had growth then. So let's fast forward. 6 months goes by. And we still like, hey, how are you doing? We didn't end on a bad note. We really cared about each other. I recall going on dates and thinking, oh man, I really wish he was like Dennis. Or, you know, I remember the respect that I had for you was, I never had respect for men in the past. I always felt like I had they were like children. So I had this immense respect for you that I wasn't able to find in anyone else. And so we'll do the sort of turning point. I remember it was Christmas time, and I was thinking about it. I had to pass his work building to go to my work. It was annoying. But I would look over and be like, hey, Dennis. And and so I went to his apartment and brought him a little Christmas thing, whatever, candy in a card or whatever. And I didn't hear from him. So I'm going to let him take it from there.
Oh, immediately prior to Christmas, my mother fell very ill, went into the hospital with what ended up being the cancer that ended her life. And she'd gone in maybe 10, 12 days before Christmas, and my sister went to help my father take care of that situation because she lives nearby. And a couple days, about a week before Christmas, my sister called and said, hey, Mom's not going to make it very much longer. You need to be here. She called all my siblings and said that. So I flew there, and I arrived at, I think on Christmas Eve or the day before. And my mother passed 2 days after Christmas. And I was very pleased that I had that chance to say goodbye to her. And, you know, we had the funeral, and I came back to Phoenix. And, you know, I knew my father, who's much older, he was 90 at the time when she passed, or turning 90.
He was 14 years older than her?
14 years older than her.
Mm-hmm.
And so, he was 90. So he had a couple of health issues and lost a bunch of weight due to the loss of his wife of 55 years. And I went to see him. We had the siblings, the kids, my brothers and sisters. We decided, you know, we need to trade off going to see him, make sure he's okay. So my turn came up in April, and I went and saw him. And
just to clarify, they lived in South Dakota, and Dennis was here in Arizona at the time.
That's right. And so I flew up there, and we went and saw my mother's gravesite, and we talked a bunch. And he expressed to me how much he wished for just one more day with her, because he had not expressed how he really felt with her. He had not expressed how much he cared about her and how much she meant to him. And so through that experience, I came back to Phoenix after a couple of days of making sure he was okay, with the realization that I wasn't doing that in my own life, that for relationships, I had not invested all of me, and I had not made myself vulnerable, as my wife would counsel me to be.
He was as flexible as a steel bar.
That's right. The and so I came back, and it was roughly May 1st, and a week later, Maureen texted me and asked, "Would you like to catch up over lunch?" And she never gives a second chance.
Ever. Once I'm done, I'm done. But I remember sitting at my best friend's at the time house, and she's like, just text him. And I did. I texted him because there was always like this longing, like I wasn't fulfilled in that time that we've been apart, with the people I've been dating. And so we did end up going to lunch at the same place where we had our first date.
We might as well.
And something was different about him. And I
was taller.
I could say. And you looked 10 years
That's
younger.
right, see?
No, he fixed all those things. No, it was different. I could tell he was different. I can tell he was softer, and I could tell he was definitely willing to be a lot more vulnerable and put things out on the table. And of course, at that point, I was back into pretty mode. Like, I really liked him, but I didn't. I just thought I'd rather have 5 minutes with him than 5 years with someone else. And so I was just grateful to have any time with him.
And my change wasn't so obvious that you would be convinced that I was a different person in an hour and a half lunch or whatever it was in one meeting. I know you probably saw some differences in me, but had I truly changed, I'm sure it was in your mind. But I was in the position of Maureen matters to me, and this relationship matters to me, and I am going to do everything I can to explore this relationship to its not logical, but its natural conclusion. Not break up over something. Put myself all into this relationship. Make it my priority. And so, from then on, from that day, early in May, I tried to demonstrate that to Maureen. I wanted to act that way, and believe I did. And
I definitely felt a shift. I felt a shift, and I have to, remind everyone here, my issue and my things that I needed to work on was the enabling of my daughter and literally living her life. My emotional state was living her life, and is she okay? And all my existence was like just her. And I stopped that. I reached a point where I finally said, I have to let her fall. I can't keep doing this because I'm pushing things away in my life, and I'm not living my life to the fullest because I'm so worried about her. And it was my own projection of not having support when I had tough times in my life from my family, and I thought, I'll never do that with my kids. But I had given enough. Like, enough was enough. So we come back together. Here he has this epiphany about his father, and he realizes, he's got to give a little, and I realize I've got to have boundaries in order to have a healthy relationship. And so he moves in 2 months later and proposed literally
same day?
No, the next day. The next day. In the backyard. It was.
I found this in the grass. I thought you might like
it. And that's right there is Dennis in a nutshell. He just says those kooky things that I love. That it's just so easy. It's so easy with Dennis. So and we've had challenges like everybody else. But I'm gonna say in our last 15 minutes, what I want to go into is how we have overcome the triggers from the past, because that was really for me. I had to work on the triggers of the past. If he'd say something, or one of them was like financial. I'd always done the financials. I'd always done the taxes. I've always done everything. I was a single mom. I was taking care of everything, and to let go of that and feel secure for the first time with a man that's going to actually provide the security and make me feel like I'm okay was a big deal.
Well, and that's it was a very understandable position that you took because of your past experiences. So I can't expect you to reject all those experiences and say, oh, it's a different person here. I'll act like, I don't know anything, or I don't have any concerns about anything. It let's take the house, for example. I moved into a house that Maureen had owned for more than 10 years at the time, and we still live in that house. And even though, I immediately started contributing and paying, the mortgage and the other bills and everything else, it took us until beyond our first anniversary. It was almost 18 months into our marriage, more than 2 years after I moved in, when we refinanced the house and I had my name actually on it. And it didn't bother me. I noted that that's the not the resistance that Maureen had, but that's the trauma she had experienced, is that she needed time to let that all go. And it didn't matter to me if I was on that mortgage statement or not. I was still going to be responsible and show her that I was a full partner in our relationship, in our marriage, and that wasn't a source of contention between us, that I needed my name on a piece of paper.
But that's so rare. I know you say it matter of fact, it was no big deal, but that's so rare, and that you gave me that time, we were married. I committed my life to you, and I'm still like, nah, can't put your name on the house. Sorry, it's still, I'm still in awe of that, and I'm in appreciation for the fact that you gave me that time, because you were that confident and committed and knew that I was that committed that it didn't even matter to you. It was a non-factor. But it is a big deal, and I think the listeners would agree. Most people are like, if I'm paying the mortgage, my name is on that house.
But it didn't feel like that. It didn't feel like it was something that you were withholding. It wasn't even something that was on my mind. I think we did it mainly to consolidate and get a better rate, more than see, there's your engineer husband coming in. More than put my name on it. It was just a convenient concurrent kind of thing.
Logical.
So yeah, but it to me, that shows a knowledge of what you need, and it doesn't have to be a source of contention to give you space, to give you time to overcome the things. We've talked a lot about your way of processing things, and I like to think of myself as a stoic. And a stoic isn't a person who doesn't talk a lot, even though I don't talk a lot. A stoic is someone who looks at actions rather than words and reacts to those actions. So if you tell me you love me, you show me that by your actions. You don't have to tell me every 10 minutes that you love me. That doesn't validate it any more than your actions would. And if you told me you love me and you acted in a way that didn't show me you love me, that would be a clearer indication. I would not take your words for granted. I would look at your action. And so, I look at the way that you treat me, and I've always treated me, Maureen, and it's always been with love. And this was a situation where I had to understand you better. You want to talk things out in a extensive manner, shall we say?
Over and over and over.
Well, but that's how you process things, and so you say that. I need to talk to my daughter. I need to talk to my best friend. I need to talk to you, and it's going to be essentially the same conversation, maybe 3 different times, but you're processing it the whole time.
I have to look at it from all different sides. You just made me realize something. We've done the love language quiz, and obviously his is physical affection and quality time. Yet, what you just described is you really are an acts of service guy. And I Mine came out as, receiving gifts. And what you're describing of me is words of affirmation. So isn't it crazy how you can take this quiz, you think this is, and you can have these primary, I'll be speaking on this on the summit on the 17th. You can have these primary love languages, but look at how pertinent it is that we recognize and you recognize, I approve it by action. And I'm like, I just need to talk it through and talk and talk and talk and talk. And I didn't even realize how important the words of affirmation were to me. I know the acts of service is to you.
Well, it's more of affirming that people understand you and your need for is my position making sense to others, or am I off base here? And so I think you look for a few key people, 3 or 4 of us, to be your sounding board for am I reacting to this? Am I doing this thing in a way that makes sense to all of you? And through that interaction, it helps you say, yeah, the things that I'm doing are right, or maybe I should take a different approach, or
like, am I viewing it with the right perception, or from a perception of my past pain or whatever?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think that's the self-awareness journey that we take. Listeners know this. When you start taking the self-awareness journey, now you're open and willing to say, okay, I can hear what someone has to say about how they're viewing me or what I'm saying, rather than in the past being stubborn and closed-minded where, nope, this is how I feel and I'm right and that's it, I don't want to hear anything else.
And you are very open to what the other people that you use as a sounding board say to you. And so it does, you're not looking for a group of people who just say yes, oh, everything you say is exactly right.
Yeah.
You're perfect in how you're looking at everything. You want that validation in a very honest, from someone who cares, from people that care about you. And then
I want honesty. I want honesty. To please don't sugarcoat it, guys. I mean, don't be harsh, but but if I'm seeing this wrong, I want to know that I'm seeing it wrong, or I want to know how the outside of me, the third party view of me is, and because I want to be better. I want to be better every day and change things, and I can't do that unless I'm open-minded and willing. So I wanted to, as we've got some time, a little bit of time left, what I wanted to touch on too before we closed up is, speaking of words, when it comes to communication, the biggest factor in our marriage that I get every day with Dennis and I, and from the beginning, is the way that Dennis started, that he spoke to me from the beginning. When you've been in verbally abusive relationships, you really, really are honed in and hypervigilant on how does someone talk to me. The thing that Dennis did from the beginning and does to this day, and I do it back, is we speak to one another with so much love and respect. When I say love and respect, I'm saying when he does something or I do something around the house, it's thank you, I appreciate that. When he comes in, and says, hey, I bought salt for the soft water softener and I put it in. Oh, thank you, that's awesome. And it might sound cheesy at first. People might be like, oh God, why do you have to do that? But I tell you what, it makes me respect him so much, like over the top, how much I respect this man, because I feel appreciated and I feel the gratitude he has for me as his wife.
Well, and we don't have defined jobs that we say, okay, you have to do this thing, but we do have very definitively things that we both prefer to do and things we don't prefer to do. And so I'm grateful for you doing some of the things that I don't prefer to do. Making meals. You are a fabulous cook, honey. You are amazing. And I love what you make. But it's not your job. And I'm very grateful for the wonderful meals that I get.
we've had a little bit of conflict where we are creatures of like, I have this thing that I like to do, and don't get in my way. And so it's become sometimes an area of contention because I love doing yard work. And
she's crazy. We live in Phoenix.
Yeah.
It's 106 today.
Yeah. And I love it. I mean, I have a pool I can jump in. I can come into the air conditioning, but I love it. It's therapeutic for me. And he wants to hone in on that. I call it honing in. He thinks it's helping. And I'm like, no, I like doing this. Or laundry. I know, call me crazy. I like doing laundry. And he likes going to the grocery store. And he likes, like he said, he'll clean up after.
I used to work in a grocery store. I like going to the grocery store.
But we have gotten pretty rigid on just let me do these things that I like. But we've communicated about it. It's not like I don't recognize you want to help me. It's I really like doing these things, and you do these other things here that are helpful that I don't want to do. I don't want to step foot in a grocery store.
And as much as I know that sometimes I'm in your way outside, I just want to try to relieve you make it quicker for you. I know you want to vacuum the front lawn like you do so that it's pristine for the 8 minutes until the leaves start falling again. But I just want to help you in the way that I can, because you have a need. It fulfills you to do that in a way, that speaks to some of your personality, and that's fine. I just don't turn my back on it and say, if she wants to do it, she can do it all. I don't care if she's out there for 3 hours.
You still offer.
If I can take an hour of that away by helping, rather than substituting for you, that's what I want to do.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. So, as we wrap up, we've got about a minute left here. I want to ask you, since I always ask my guests this, and you're actually co-host today.
My co-host.
You're my co-host.
All right.
We might do this more often, because this was really, really fun. So the one thing I want you to answer is, what is the one thing, now that we have this healthy marriage, this awesome marriage, what is the one thing that you never knew that we now have, or that this marriage looks like, that you didn't know either in your first marriage or prior?
That I could be more resilient with emotional needs and chaos. And so I always felt like everybody needed to take care of themselves, and I didn't want to be that person that was emotionally integrated with all these issues, solve your own problems kind of thing.
Okay, so simplify that for us, because you lost me a little bit.
Okay, so when...
What's your statement? What's your statement on your banner that you would say about a healthy relationship or a healthy marriage?
That it's not you isolated by yourself and these other people are isolated and you live together, but it's all, all the things that you do is as a family, and I'm much more integrated into my family than I may have been in the past. And it wasn't like I lived with roommates kind of level in the past, but it wasn't like it is today. I'm much more...
I love you. I'm going to simplify this. We're a team. We're a team is on his banner. That's what I'm hearing. And I also think acceptance. I think you hadn't felt fully accepted for who you
absolutely.
are. And I know that I didn't. I never felt fully accepted for who I was. I felt I was always earning love, and I don't feel I have to earn your love. I have your love. It's always there. And then the things that I love to do out of unconditional love for you is what I do. So
nope, and I love you more than I could possibly tell you, and I hope always to show you. And you've changed me into a better person, and I love who I am today.
Oh, I love it. There you have it, folks. You got to meet my fabulous hubs, Dennis Yeah, I'm so glad that we did this because you could hear now, really, as he always says, I'm the picture, he's the frame, but really, he's the power behind the princess. Ooh, that was good. He's my light, man. He is literally, he's what lifts me, he's what keeps me going, and I won't get any more mushy. So, guys, I just want to thank you for listening today, and let me know if you have any comments or anything you want to say. If you liked this format, this unique format and bonus episode, let us know. Go and subscribe. Make sure you're getting all of our episodes, and leave that 5-star review so we can get more and more people to join the community. I have so many fabulous guests with fabulous stories. If you're looking for relationship coaching and dating coaching, as you can hear, I have lots of experience in both my past and also in the things that I've learned in my education, and it comes together to help you find the type of relationship that you just heard my husband and I have. So I'm at lifecoachmaureen.com. Find me if you're interested in coaching. Also, my books, My Dog is My Relationship Coach, also is an extension of what we were talking about today, my past, what I've been through, how I took that soul journey before I met my husband, how I learned how to be true to myself. And it talks about ways to date, how to date online, long distance dating. It's just a really fun book. So that's on Amazon. My Dog is My Relationship Coach. And I thank you all for being here today. It's actually Labor Day weekend, and yeah, we have a 3-day weekend. So have a wonderful, wonderful day, everyone. Please like and share this podcast, and we will see you soon on our next episode. Say goodbye, honey.
Goodbye, honey.
I knew it. I knew it. Bye, guys.